another custom cosplay costumes. And today, we're going to be making the Ghostbusters outfit from the original 1984 classic. Now this is not going to be 100% movie accurate, but it's something that you guys can make at home with just stuff from around your house or from local stores. So, let's get started. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the flight suit, which you can buy online if you want, and it's about 40 bucks a piece, but I'm just gonna use a tan jacket and pants. So I went to the thrift store to see what I could find. First off, these tan khaki color pants. These were only $3, and they're pretty good. So next I tried to match this tan color with a khaki color jacket, and that, here we go, this was only $4. And I tried as best as I could to get the exact same color. As you can see, I don't know how well it's picking it up on camera, but they are not the same shade of tan. But, you know, I'm just gonna have to live with it, whatever. Hopefully find the closest shades of tan you can. But yeah, this thing, it is a little big, but it's an adult small, I think. So yeah, but I have an idea to make it smaller, so we'll do that later. But now we're gonna work on the patches. They have a patch that says their name and also a little Ghostbusters patch on the shoulder. So let's do that. Okay, so for their patches, they have a Ghostbusters logo here and a little name tag right here. So the rear ones are embroidered, and you could just draw them, but I'm not a very good artist, so I'm just gonna print them out. Here is the Ghostbusters logo, pretty standard logo there. I actually had these printed on some cardstock just so they'll be a little thicker and not as flimsy. And then for the name tag, you could use one of their 4 names, but what I think really makes their costume unique is if you put your own last name there. So that's what I did. I just went into Photoshop and typed out my last name in red on black, and I sprayed pretty much the right size. So I'm just going to cut these out, hot glue them to the shirt, and that's it. Okay, so these are done, and this is it for the jacket, and nothing I had to do on the pants, so it's just, man, it looks so cool. These are really simple, and just, now it's an official Ghostbusters flight suit. Okay, so next up is the elbow pads, and they have volleyball elbow pads, gray volleyball elbow pads, and those you can buy online, and they're about 25 bucks. So I went to the thrift store and see what elbow pads I can find. They don't have to be exact, just be pretty close. I found these, so they're okay. They're black, and they're not exactly volleyball elbow pads, but they're good enough, and they were only $3, so I'm just gonna spray them with gray primer, and yeah. So now we're gonna work on my favorite part of this costume, the actual Proton Pack. So I'm just starting with a basic piece of cardboard here, and now I'm pretty much just gonna pile a bunch of crap on top of it. Now, I don't really know exactly how I'm gonna do this. These pieces are gonna be found at the hardware store, the dollar store, craft store, miscellaneous areas, and just pile them on top. So I'm just gonna spend a lot of time in the overhead view and just do a time lapse, and you can see how I made it. Okay, so I'm just starting out by tracing the basic shape of the Proton Pack onto some cardboard. I'm just looking at the reference photos and trying to draw it out as close as I can. And there's the big circle I traced at the bottom. I just traced a little cake sheet thing I found at the dollar store, and we're gonna need that for later, so keep that. And just cutting it out now. You're just eyeballing it, of course. And then we're gonna start with the second piece that'll go on top of that, and that is to make up the Cyclotron. See, I'm just using another piece of cardboard, tracing that same sheet, and just it has a little raised section off of that. I just traced a little circle there to make the little section, and just cut that out once more. Now this part is raised a little bit, so it's only raised about a couple inches, so I just cut a big long strip of just a couple inches of piece of cardboard, and then bent that and just folded it all little by little all the way around the Cyclotron area, and then so I can just place that on top there. Just cut those out and make sure the corrugation is going the right way so that you can bend that nice and easily. and then just put the cyclotron on top, and it starts looking more like a proton pack, and it's actually starting to look pretty official. So right now the cyclotron is kind of looking like cardboard and duct tape, which I should have known, but I want it to be really smooth off on that circular part, so I'm using that same cake tray, and I'm just gluing some cardboard panels under there so that the hot glue can reach the cardboard, and so I'm just going to glue that right to the circular area, so one, it'll have that little bevel area, and two, it'll just be nice and smooth and nice finish on that. And then off of the leg of the cyclotron, there's one more little raised section, and I'm just using the cap to an empty can of spray paint I had, and just gluing it right there, securing it with a little bit of duct tape, and I think now it's time to spray paint it. Alright, so I already had a bunch of this stuff, but it's 99 cents. It's flat black paint. So my plan and process for this is pretty much just going to be finding random materials that I think look somewhat kind of like something on the Proton Pack, and then just hot gluing it on. So again, I'm just going to show a time lapse and kind of narrate on what different things I'm finding, and just make it up as I go along. So now that the base black color has been applied, we can start working on some of the details there. And starting off, there's a cylinder near the top of the Proton Pack, and you could use a water bottle, but I couldn't find any that are nice and smooth, so I'm going to use a Pringles can, of course, and I'm just gluing some cardboard panels to the side of that, and then there's a bunch of little lines running along the top of that, so I'm just cutting a bunch of little strips of cardboard and gluing them all on the top of that thing, and then of course painted flat black like everything in this project. So for our next detail on the Proton Pack, there are a couple little boxes, it looks like. So I'm using these Tupperware boxes I found at the dollar store, of course, and there are a bunch of little lines running along them. So I'm going to use strips of just some thin cardboard, and that's just cereal box cardboard, and just glue them all around that thing. And then they're attached together with a little bridge, and I would have used an empty toilet paper tube, but I collected one for this project, and then I lost it like the day before making this. I don't know where it went, so I'm going to use what I have and just use the neck to my water bottle and paint that black, and it actually looks pretty good. Also, now I'm just making a little cardboard box, just as another detail I saw there, of course painted black. And then there are a bunch of little buttons and little switches and stuff, so I'm going to use really whatever I find, water bottle caps, marker caps, really anything. So I just collected a bunch of them from the recycling bin, and I'm just going to glue this all around it. And, some are silver, some are black, of course just spray paint, and just gluing them everywhere, looking at the reference photos, of course, and just gluing them everywhere. So I guess it's best to mention it right now than later, but I'm not going to be explaining every single detail in this, because honestly, the process in making this is finding random things from the recycling bin and from around your house or from different stores and just gluing them to the Proton Pack. So before making this, I had no idea what I was going to use for anything, but I'm just like, hey, this looks kind of cool, glue it on, paint it black, So I'm just going to kind of show you everything in the time lapse, and just kind of a visual aid is definitely what you need for this project. Just finding different random things, and honestly just looking at this Proton Pack will help you a lot more than just me talking about it. So just pay attention to some of the details, and if you have any questions on specific details, you can always hit me up in the comments below. So yeah, again, just working on some of the little details of the Proton Pack there. There are a couple little tube things. I'm going to use just a couple shot glasses that I got from the dollar store, and just paint them and put bottle caps on them. And I have even a little eraser in there. But next, I found this box. You could make this out of cardboard too, but it's pretty close to the right shape for the side box there. So again, I'm going to cut some more cereal box cardboard and make a bunch of little strips to go on the side of that, because a lot of things have strips in this. And then there are 2 little cylinders coming off of that, and so I've decided to use just little pieces of PVC pipe, which you'll need for something later in this project, and just gluing them to those and painting it black, of course. And then it should look pretty good. Now there is one more little raised box off of that, and couldn't find the right shaped one, so I'm going to make my own out of just some pieces of cardboard. And it's kind of more square-ish, I guess. I'm just eyeballing everything. There's no accurate measurements needed for any of this, just eyeballing everything. And then there's one little gold cylinder piece coming off of that. You could use a plastic straw, but I had a wooden dowel lying around that I found, so I'm just gonna paint that gold and poke it through. It looks pretty good. I don't know what it's for, but I guess it was on there, so I'm just gonna do that. And then there's next detail. There's a thick computer ribbon on the Proton Pack, and for that I used party streamers, which I glued several layers to make it considerably thicker and less fragile. And then I just used little strips of colored duct tape, because I have a lot of it, to make up the color ribbon. Okay, time to give this sad black Proton Pack a little bit of color. So now we're going to do the wires, and I'm just going to spray paint little pieces of this rope that I already had and pre-cut into pieces. But give you a little rundown, we have 2 of these long wires. Now those are going to be red. There's one medium length blue wire. It's painted blue, of course. There's going to be 2 of these equal length ones. One's going to be red, one's going to be blue. And then there's this last one, this little yellow one that we don't even have to paint right now, or you could paint it yellow if you have a different color rope, but that's a small yellow one. So let's go paint these. So I already had both of these. This is red and blue, but when you buy them new, they're usually about $4 a can. Alright everybody, this is the home stretch. We have this computer ribbon done, the wires done, and then all these different boxes and stuff. You've maybe noticed I didn't glue down any of them. I just sat them into place there, and that's because I didn't know exactly where everything would fit in the exact size. So now that we have everything done, time to glue it all together. One last thing is I had this little piece of black tubing, which you'll need for later in the video. So yeah, just only about a foot or 2 of that. Yeah. So again, I'm just looking at the reference photo very closely and just gluing them down into place. Pretty much the same place as I was gluing them down and you've seen me place down earlier in the video. But, you know, just the big tall boxes with the gold stuff, the rigid Pringles can, and then the 2 boxes, and then all the different details go just everywhere. So look at the pictures and just glue them everywhere. One last detail you could do is just using some silver acrylic paint, just dry brush around little areas and edges that you think would hit the ground more, and it really just shows a whole new layer of worn steel and good depth on the Proton Pack. It really makes it look good. Okay, so most of the face of the Proton Pack is completed, but now let's move on to the final step here, and that's completing the main Cyclotron. Okay, so there are 4 main circular red lights on the face of the Cyclotron, so I'm just going to use little squares of red duct tape. They're not going to light up or anything cool like that, but whatever. And now for the circles surrounding them, these are not spray painted yet, but I just cut little circles of some thin cardboard. You could use large washers, but I didn't want to go out and buy any. So yeah, and then there's another little thing that sticks out right here. I'm just using a spray paint can with a little piece of cardboard on top, painted black, and then this circle is a cut out of it, because that's where that goes. For this top flap thing, I just made a strip of cardboard, bent it here and there, and then just made another octagon to slip under there, so that'll sit right there when it's painted flat black. And then for this little metal silver detail, it's like a little cylinder on top of there, I'm just gonna use this old battery, paint it entirely silver, glue it on there, and that'll be pretty much the last piece. Okay, so this Proton Pack is looking freaking amazing. I'm really happy with the results. But one last thing to the face of the Proton Pack we need to do is add the labels. Now, there are a ton of labels all around this thing, and I think it'll really just make it look official. So I just Googled Ghostbuster labels and then found them, and I was gonna print them out and then somehow glue them on, but I didn't want them to wrinkle. So I decided to print it out on some label paper. So now I'm just gonna stick these everywhere. I gotta use a lot of reference photos and just stick them all around this thing. Next thing to do is the actual back frame and strapping for the Proton Pack. So for the back frame, I'm making that solely out of PVC pipe, which is super cheap and easy to work with. I just started with one piece of 1/2-inch PVC that I cut into 4 pieces, and then I have 4 1/2-inch 90-degree rotation elbow things, and those are there. So that's it for this, and now just gotta paint it black. And for the straps of the Proton Pack, I'm just gonna use some straps from an old backpack I had lying around. And I suggest not buying a brand new backpack just to cut the straps off of. So ask family or friends around for an old backpack. I'm lucky because I'm making this costume right around the back to school shopping season. So this is one of my brother's old backpacks, but I'm just gonna cut the straps off of it and then spray paint them army green, and should work. So the next thing we're gonna do is make the Proton wand. That's like the gun that connects to this Proton Pack. So I'm gonna start off with this custom cardboard box I made, just using some cardboard, hot glued it, looked at the pictures and stuff, pretty close. And then it has 2 sticks coming off of it, one for the handle, and then the other for the place where the stream comes out of it, of the wand. So for that, I was going to use some PVC pipe, but I don't have any more. So instead, I'm gonna use this toilet plunger from the dollar store. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. And I'm gonna maybe cut this little plunger part off and then just use this stick, attach it in there. That'll be the area where the stream comes off. And then for the handle, I found this mini toilet plunger. So that'll work too, and that'll be the handle. And so yeah, then I'm just gonna look at the pictures and stuff and make some different little details, wires, duct tape, whatever, paint it black. And then there's some silver stuff and whatnot, just looking at the pictures and piling some stuff on top of it. By the way, to attach the wand to the Proton Pack, I just cut a hole in the Cyclotron and used a little bit more of that black flex tubing and just attached that to the handle and to the Cyclotron. Okay, and that's it for the costume. I am super excited to try this all on. We got the entire costume. Now, this is by far my most accurate costume, the biggest and the craziest I've ever made. But, you know, whatever. It's really fun and turned out great. So, if you make this costume for yourself, I would love to see it. Please send me a picture at customcosplaycostumes@gmail.com. Also, follow me on Instagram at customcosplaycostumes. Make sure you subscribed if you aren't already, and like and comment if you have any questions about this, and I'll make sure to reply. And I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Wait, no, I should say, who are you gonna call?